All right. All right. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Let's see. So we're week 2 for our second practice session. I hope that you're doing okay. There seems to be like a lot of intense energies happening. I've also like had to deal quite a bit to transmute in myself. And yeah, it's been pretty intense over the last day. So I hope you're all okay. If anything, you can always reach out to me. But that being said, hopefully this session will also help with processing some of these things in your body. So I hope that you're caught up with all the other classes. If not, of course, that's not a drama. You can just try to follow along. But on Monday, we started learning about resistance and how it works in our body and through our subconscious, and then how fascia exercises, the way that we practice them, can help us with that, how it's like a new way to approach resistance so that we can work through it without triggering it further, basically, without pushing it, without bulldozing it, but how to learn to cooperate with it so that the resistance starts to understand it's not really doing a helpful job and releases itself, basically. So I haven't gotten you the whole full course yet, but like I was just saying before I started the recording, I have started creating the journaling course. And I feel that that's going to be the next thing. And right after that, we're going to do the whole fascia course. But you don't need the whole fascia course to start practicing. That course really is also meant for you to understand, for those who are interested, more background. And it's most important for more developed exercises once you really get into it and once you really get the hang of it. Um, and so, um, sorry, it's confusing. Somebody got flashed out of the class. So I'm kind of like, do I need to let you back in or not? And I think you can, it goes by itself once I let you in. Okay. No, but what I was saying, like for the first exercises, they're super simple. And I will explain them here as we go. It's more for us like when we've been into practicing for several weeks or several months that you might want to have exercises that are a little bit more challenging for you, or that you say, I'm struggling with this specific thing or that specific thing, and I'm going to need an exercise for this or that. So that course is more meant for once we've passed this first basic level and we have down the very basics, and then we can start building upon that. Because we usually don't get, like, we just get in these 8 weeks to the point where we get like the basics down, and so that you have everything that you need to build on that later on. um so today is going to be our first day, so hopefully you've also kind of gone to the hold yourself together, where we've done what we used to call interiorizations, or these days they call it full presence meditations, which is basically a way to get in touch with the fascia and with yourself and with the space within yourself, and possibly the internal movement in from an immobile position. But what we're going to do today is actually the beginning of the fascia therapy in the method of Danny Bois, because it was developed as a movement exercise therapy, you could say, even before it was developed as a manual therapy where you put hands on somebody else. So this was actually the very basis of how it was developed, which was learning to move with the internal movement. And in our class on Monday, I kind of went over that, what to expect, how we measure it, what all the parameters are, how it works. So today we're gonna start doing the most simple exercises that I can possibly teach you with this. And the one I always like to start with is where we're just gonna be moving our shoulders, um, in one direction. So we start with both shoulders going up and down, because the joint here, the whole shoulder girdle, I guess you could say it, it's quite stable because we have like this here in the front with the collarbones. Yeah, I think it's that. And then the shoulder blades in the back, and the rib cage, and there is not much you can do wrong. So you can really easily focus just on going up and down without having to pay attention to anything else, or feeling like you need to control it because it's like going out of place, basically. So that's why this is the very easiest I can give you to start with. Let me see. I think I might want to turn this over a little bit. Turn myself a little bit more like here. And it's also a quite easy one to visualize, because I think the hardest thing for people in the beginning when we start doing these exercises is for them to feel like they're doing it right. And when you come to a class and I can put my hands on you and guide the movement, everybody goes like, oh, once I felt that, then you feel confident that you know what you're doing and whether you're doing it right or wrong. That is sadly not something I can really offer in a group class online, and especially not for the people who can be here live or whom I can't see on the video. So hopefully there is, if you like it, a moment to check in where we can do it in private and I can, feel into it. But it's still not like 100% the same as when I can do it hands-on. But the most important thing for you to understand, and I think it is much more rewarding if you can discover it yourself, and if you can develop that confidence in yourself, that you can discover it and that you can learn to trust that feeling where you feel like, yes, this is right. At least I'm doing something that feels really right for my body. And then usually like you'll figure it out. You can do it. You can find what it is that I'm looking for. You just have to allow yourself the space to explore it and to feel it and to try maybe a few different things. And know there is, as long as you go by the instructions, really no way for you to do it wrong. Because it is all about for you to discover, your body, yourself, and your internal world. And the things that people can do wrong is that we can go too fast. We can go too far. And we can lose track of what we're actually doing. So as long as you keep these three things in mind, and if you're not sure whether or not you're doing it right, go slower, go smaller, and focus or like refocus yourself on what you're actually doing. And then there really is no chance of you to actually do something terribly wrong or to hurt yourself. Because once you're hurting yourself, you're in some of these problematic areas. You're either going too fast, you're going too far, or you're losing focus of the direction that you're supposed to go into. So I can keep trying to explain this forever, but I think we will get more out of it if we just try to practice it. And like I said, for this first exercise, for you to kind of get into it or to get a feel of what it is that we're looking for. And since we're going up and down with both of our shoulders, I like to say to people, well, imagine there are two tiny birds or two butterflies that land on your shoulders, take your shirt, and help kind of lift up your shoulders. That's the amount of strength that you want to use, that you want to apply into doing this. So we really want to try to get the internal movement to move our body. And what we want to do is we just want to make sure by using our attention that that internal movement moves within a certain direction. Now, the thing is, in the beginning, like I said, in the theory, it's kind of like a yo-yo thing. And in the beginning, you kind of have to, toss the yo-yo a little bit to get it going. And then once it's going, it starts to propel itself, basically. So for us to kind of know, like, what is it that we want to be doing in the very, very beginning, that's kind of it. So as soon as you start using more muscle than that, then we're no longer moving within the fascia, then we're no longer moving within the internal movement, because then we're contracting too much in the muscles, and the muscles are closing the space too much, especially in the beginning. Okay, here we go. And let's see. Some people I've heard, like, they like different visualizations, like there's some things like gliding up the back and gliding down. Whatever works for you is fine. I just like this particular analogy because it gives you a good idea of not using too much strength, not using too much force, because we want to start really small and really start to get into like how much resistance our body is actually holding and how much you are usually just pushing through. And this is just the beginning. This will develop, of course, but we have to start at the very beginning. So maybe we'll just do that. We'll just make a practice out of it now. If you have any questions later, let me know. And maybe some things come up that I remember that I have to tell you as we go along. But for this practice, yes, before we can start, a little bit of the setup. You want to be able to sit in a way where you can have a stable seating. So like preferably something like a chair. So anything, like I said, within the meditation, or you can sit, have your knees in like a 90 degrees angle and your feet flat on the floor. It can be soft, but soft tends to usually go also a little bit too deep. So that's kind of for you to decide. But the main difference between this one and the meditation one is we don't want you to lean into the back. So you can see I'm also on my desk chair. So my desk chair has a leaning in the back, so I can't lean into it. I'm not doing that. So I'm putting my bottoms in the front of the chair so that my back is not leaning against anything. We want to have this free, especially since we're going to be moving the shoulders, and like we want to do it like super gentle without any force. So if I'm having to move the friction against the chair, that's not going to work. Okay. I hope you're all seated. If not, and you're watching this video later, give it a little pause and get yourself a chair. So make sure feet nicely flat on the ground, legs in a comfortable straight position. Feeling your bottom on the chair, feeling our torso like sitting nicely on top of it, so you can feel the sit bones in your bum touching the chair. And you want to feel your chest and your pelvic area. You want to feel that it's nicely on top of each other, so that you're not like this part is like sticking out front, or it's not like leaning out back and all like squished in. So you want to just make sure that you're sitting up nice and straight without like any tension, so that you feel like all the systems kind of hold itself in balance, so I can easily move a little bit around. Nothing is tense, but I'm also not losing any balance. My head is like not like this or like this, it's just relaxed in the middle. and everything is sitting nice and centered. What you do with your arms is kind of up to you. You want to leave them hanging to the side, or you want to have them so like laying on your legs. That you can really choose. It's up to you. And then we're going to tune into our shoulders. And close your eyes. That way you can feel much more. I am going to keep my eyes a bit open and on the screen in case any messages come in or any more people get kicked out or want to come back in. We are in a Mercury retrograde, so tech issues are to be expected. So let's see. Close your eyes. Feel your shoulders. Feel your shoulder blades in the back, laying on top of your rib cage. Feel the upper part of your upper arms in the sockets of your shoulders. Feel your collarbones. And then you feel those little birds landing on your shoulders. And when I say start in a second, you'll start to feel that those birds are starting to fly up and you're following that movement upwards. And start. You might feel that's just a very, very small movement, and you run into a lot of resistance pretty quickly. And we stop. We stop and we wait. And then just as gently as those little birds went up, they start going down. And start. Remember, this is not like a gravity drop. This is a gentle landing, going down. And if everything goes well, you feel it goes down a little bit further than where you started in the center. And stop. And once again, we wait. We hold space. We don't do anything. We just wait and let our body process what it just did. And we prepare ourselves to go back up and start. Birds start flying up again. We follow. You feel more movement than before. You can go further. We stay soft. And as soon as one of our shoulders hits any resistance, so we have to start pushing, we stop both together. And we wait. We do not change our physical position. We just stay perfectly still on the outside. And we try to let more space be created on the inside. Like the inside can relax without moving the outside. So we don't collapse, we don't go into flimsy or weak, we stay soft, we stay present, we stay just to the point where this resistance exists. We don't push through it, we just stay here with it. And then we prepare ourselves to go back down. And we start letting those little birds land our shoulders back down. And you follow it, follow it, follow it. I feel them just going straight down and stop. Remember, everything starts together, everything stops together. So even if one shoulder feels like it can move further, they both stop at the same time. And we prepare ourselves to go back up and start. You feel more movements with less effort, becoming bigger. Becoming visible actually for you on the video right now. Before it was only just mostly internal and maybe millimeters external, but now the external movement is starting to follow the internal movement, and we stop when we hit the resistance. We stay here, we stay present, we don't push past it, we don't run away from it, we just stay here in this point of support. Let our body figure it out. Now we prepare to go back down and start. And you feel your shoulder blades moving down across your ribs. You feel your arms dropping, your collarbones go down. All of those structures move down really nice and slow and deeper than they've ever been before. And stop. If your stop is at a different point than my stop, by all means, if you feel resistance before it's called, that is where you should stop. It is impossible for me to say it for everybody. Going to be always perfectly aligned. That is impossible. It's just a guideline, and it is for you to learn to feel when you encounter any resistance, which is any point where you have to start making more effort, where you have to start pushing harder, where you have to start um, using more muscle than what these two little birds would bring. Maybe you can even start when the movement is starting to come back, but that might be a little bit early. So that one you can just follow on the instructions as we start to prepare to go back up. And start. Stop. Hmm. For me, this is starting to hit a new level that none of the previous ones did. It's starting to work on some of my vertebrae in my thorax. So you might see it's gotten smaller than it was before, but that's just because it's starting to hit new levels. So no worries, that's very normal if that's happening for you as well. And we prepare to go back down and start. Stop. And we're going to do one more up and down. Preparing to go back up again. And start. Last movement already did this work. It's going bigger again, easier again. And stop. And preparing to go down again. And start. Stop. One more point of support. Remember, they're just as important. Allows our body to make adjustments and to do different in the next round. And then we come back to neutral position. Just as slowly, just let the body use the internal movement to come back to center. And then very gently, very slowly, you might want to do a few stretches. All right. So let me know how that's going, how that's feeling. if you feel like I've given you all the information that you need to be able to do this. Um, it can be like very double. It can feel very overwhelming. It is very hard to do when this is the first time you're practicing because it's asking, even though it's the simplest one I can give you. And that's why we start with this one, because you don't have to pay any attention. Like your shoulders are not going to spontaneously go like in weird directions. It just automatically goes there. So you don't have to pay any attention to any of that. But still, it's like a lot for attention if we haven't trained it in this way yet. So when you want to practice this by yourself, I usually tell people do 5 minutes. Ideally, we say do three rows of three in a row and do that 3 times a day. So up, down would be considered one. And so you do up, down, up, down, up, down. You take a little break for like just a minute. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And that's it. So that takes you about maybe 5 or 6 minutes. And then you do that in the morning and somewhere at noon and somewhere in the evening. And that's because if we haven't had any more training for attention, that's usually the most that we can attain it for properly. And even though I call these exercises, I usually tell people to think of it like meditation in movement, because the idea of an exercise is something that we have to do, and then we start doing things. And when we start doing things, we go in autopilot and we start like going all of those things that we absolutely don't want to do when we do this. That's going too fast, doing too much, and starting to think of it like some kind of a performance, and starting to think that the aim of this exercise is to be able to bring our shoulders up to our ears and down to our knees, which it is not. The aim of this exercise is to learn to discover how to feel resistance in our body in much smaller amounts than we're used to. And by doing so, building a new relationship with our body, helping different parts of our body become more coherent and harmonious, moving together. So it has nothing to do with all of those things that we are used to thinking of when we think of exercising and reaching goals. So it's like all the opposite of that. So that's why I say think of it as like a meditation and movement. Also, like your attention is such a big part of it. There is no point in doing it if you can't have your attention on what you're doing. If you're thinking about your groceries or stressing out about something and you're just like trying to sit here, do something with your body, it's not going to do anything. This is not like I said, this is not a stretch. This is not a fitness exercise. This is an exercise where we have our mind and our body communicate for more coherency and more harmony. So if one of those two isn't present in the exercise isn't doing anything, because that's like trying to call somebody and the person on the other side is not picking up. So you're not going to be having a conversation. So you can like, the one partner can hang on this side of the phone as long as it wants, as long as the other one doesn't pick up and start talking to each other like nothing's happening. So that's what we need for these exercises. So both your attention, your mind, and your body need to be present and communicating and working together to get any effect of what these exercises are for. So I am thinking, maybe we can do a little bit more, a variant of what we just did, basically. So we're still like very similar. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much, because the aim of this is learning to feel, and learning to feel the slowness that we're talking about, learning to feel the small amounts of resistance that we actually should be communicating with, that we're always bulldozing, and not making it hard with more than our attention can handle. But we've done the shoulders like both up and both down together. And some people might feel that's been working, like for me, in some of the vertebrae of your thorax. So I want to give you like the simplest variation that we can, which is like one shoulder going up and one shoulder going down. So not both up together and both down together, but like one up, one down. And like it's literally straight up. And that's what we want to feel, straight up. We don't want to go like this. It's like one straight up and one straight down. So you will feel that a little bit, but it's not like this type of movement, okay? But you'll feel like maybe if you felt some pull in your back, that doing it this way can help it release a bit, okay? And it'll give us a chance to practice some more. So if you open your eyes again, close them again. Make sure you're still in the same position as before. Neutral position, everything nice and aligned. You can choose whichever one feels like it should be going up first or going down first. You can follow that impulse of your body. If you don't feel any of it, just pick one. I am completely dyslexic in right and left, and I have no idea whether or not this video is going to mirror or not mirror. So I'm just going to be saying one up, one down, and switch, and so on. And so you pick whichever you want, left or right first. It really doesn't matter. So we're getting ready. If you like to use the birds or the butterflies, use them. If you find something that works better for you, use that. And we're getting ready. And start. One up, one down, both at the same time. And stop. Remember, the same rules apply. If one reaches resistance, the other one stops as well. It doesn't matter that the direction is any different. And we prepare for the other side. And start. And notice it's all a lot smaller again than it was with the last one. It's just because it's a new exercise. We're cold, we're not warmed up for this movement. And stop. So you'll notice we're not reaching 15 seconds, and that's fine. We can build up to that. The reason that we're not reaching 15 seconds is because we have way too much resistance in way too many places. And so we're building down this resistance as we go, preparing for the other side, and start. One up, one down. You really pay attention, feeling it go straight up, feeling it go straight down, and feeling that both are moving continuously at a slow speed. And stop. Notice it's getting longer, but not yet to 15 seconds. And we just hold still, hold support, don't move. Let our body do its thing. And we just help it to hold this position so it can figure out how to release it. And we're preparing for the other side. And start. Both start at the same exact millisecond, opposite directions, straight up, straight down. We're following it with our attention. And stop. Feel how we're getting closer to our goal of reaching 15 seconds. Feel how we're having actual objective, proper movement in the shoulders. And now maybe you might start to feel the internal movement starting to shift. And we're preparing for the other side and start. One up, one down, following that movement. I'm having to stop. I'm hitting a new level. I'm hitting a blockage. If you feel like you can go further, continue until you reach your stop. Remember, it's not a bad thing when you hit a blockage. It's actually a good thing, so it can figure out how to resolve itself. Now we prepare ourselves to turn in the other direction. And we might start to feel the wave return, and then we follow it and start. Like we have these waves of movement going in one direction, and we follow it until we hit our resistance. And then we stop. We hold it, but it's like that movement is still going, but that's how we actually help. It's like we hold it immobile. We can still feel that movement actually going up and down right now on one shoulder up and one shoulder down, but we hold it perfectly still. And that allows that energy to kind of work in there. And then you can feel that energy kind of like a wave hitting the beach, like kind of like swooshing back in the other direction. And then you can feel like it start, it moves in the other direction, and you can follow it. And that's how you can kind of like ride these waves of the movement. And that's then how you can just move without doing anything, because it's like you're riding that wave. And here it resolved that entire blockage that I just bumped into. And all I had to do was be patient and hold that space and stop. And we're going to do one more. And start. And stop. Back to the other side. Stop. And then return to the middle. All right. I hope that worked out a bunch of tension that you're holding in your shoulders. You'll notice I also hold it a little bit longer than you probably would if you're practicing on your own. But that's like one of the reasons you're getting the recordings. So if you find it hard to practice in the beginning by yourself, just take this recording. You'll get many, many, many more. Uh, and just, take one, take the shoulders together in the morning and up, down separately or like in two different directions later on in the day or whatever works for you. Or if you like to practice a lot, that's fine too. It's a little bit easier if you have a recording that you can just follow along. So yeah, that will be available for you very, very soon. Let's see. Is there anything else? Are there any questions? I know a lot of you guys are in vacation, so you're probably not making it, and maybe some other people are struggling with the energies as well. I hope this is coming across like okay, because I know I am still a bit affected by it, and sometimes I'm like, oh, my attention is gone. I have to bring it back. Not so much when I'm practicing. That's the part that goes the easiest because that's something that I've been in for so long, so deeply. It's more the talking and making sure I don't forget anything and remembering what I was just saying. That's a little bit more of a struggle right now. Um, but yeah, I think this can be a good start for you guys to practice. It's the simplest, easiest thing that I can give you as far as internal movement exercises go. And it works on this area where we have a lot of blockages. So, like, even for me, I started my fascia training September of 2007. So that's coming up 18 years ago. And I have been a patient from a therapist who was doing this and teaching me this since I'm not even sure, like young. Like I was like going to my entire life as far as I can remember, especially like once I got into gymnastics, every time I had like some pain somewhere, some injury somewhere. So this is like basically from when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And I can't really remember even like if he was already practicing this then or if this was something that like he started doing in some of those earlier years. But yeah, especially like from the time I was 10, I was practicing these kind of exercises. And even though this is the simplest exercise I can teach you, like this is still so beneficial. This is not something that ever ends. Because it's not, like I said, it's not about reaching any goal or any performance or any form. Like, oh, now I can do this. This is really about this deep communication that we're doing and finding out how that works. And that never gets old. If you're interested in the conversation and not in the outcome, that never gets old, no matter how simple the exercise is. Like I can have felt like 3 or 4 major blockages in my back. Is like, yeah, I just said, like, I've been a patient for my back since I was 10 years old. So I have issues there and I'm aware of that. And it's something that is a constant thing. And like, they don't bother me so much. And I'm not even going to say that I am a, how do I say, like therapists are the worst patients and I don't have a fixed regimen of doing exercises. So because I've like done so long and so on, it's not like I practiced on a regular basis. But then when I start teaching again after a little break, it was like, you haven't been doing much, have you? And then even for me, it goes like, okay, guess some resistance has shown up here. Oh, guess an old pattern has shown up here again. But it's like it's never dull. It never becomes uninterested because it's an observation of myself. And if you can be interested in who you are and your well-being and what's going on in your internal world, nobody on the outside is going to think you're actually interested, and only people who have ulterior motives who are interested in you for their benefit and not truly for you. So it's also a very good way to learn to be interested in yourself and what's going on and what's actually best for you and what's happening and like what's working, what's not working. And not in a judgmental way, just in an observatory way. And that allows you to take so much charge of yourself, take so much ownership of yourself, start developing a whole new way to respect yourself. And that will start to reflect then in the outside world and how people start to treat you. If you can learn to respect your boundaries, if you can learn to respect your resistance, if you can be okay with what is in that moment, and if you can respect that, and then you can start other people, you can start expecting other people to respect that. That's the way that you go, not the other way around. So yeah, I might have to watch this recording again to remember what I've been saying, because I'm in kind of like in a creative flow, and I've been working a lot today creating these new courses for you guys. But it's making it hard to remember what I said 5 minutes ago. Not because I'm dissociating, but because there's so much flow and it's hard to return. Like, what have we already gone over? And what have I already said? And what else do they need to know? And okay, have I put all the pieces together? And I also explained some things on Monday. So if for any reason you feel like any part is missing, let me know. If there are any holes that I didn't fill in, we will do that on Friday. But I think for now, I will leave you with these 2 practices to start practicing. And then hopefully you'll be able to do that by Friday and get me some questions. And I might be able to take a little look if you have any doubts on whether you're doing it right or wrong, or you're actually doing it with the internal movement, or nothing's happening, or you're feeling something and you're not sure if you're supposed to be feeling that. All of that is more than welcome to go over in our integration session. So with that, if there are no further questions, I wish you a lovely evening and I'll see you in 2 days.